Well, Freshman is kind of a modern superhero story. Hugh and I were always interested in the superhero stories that were about people and real people trying to deal with fantastic situations. You know, always more than you know, this alien that fell from another planet who has the responsibility of saving our world. It's the idea of people who are in their own daily lives doing the things that the average person does, that are suddenly afflicted with something that makes them all the more individual. We love the idea of kids right on the verge of adulthood, leaving their home for the first time, exploring their identities as individuals, and you know, the second they get to the school, they are set aside, they're embarrassed by the frat people, they can't make friends, you know, all of them are very separate from one another and are kind of put together through their own unique unlikability, for lack of a better word. And in the first night that they're there, there's an overflow, there's too much overflow in the dorm, so they have to stay in the science building, and all of them are just feeling alone and separate and humiliated and really unhappy about themselves. And in that moment, there's a scientific accident. There's an event that gives all of them superpowers. And so, you know, over time they realize that each one of them are afflicted with something different, and they kind of come together to solve a common problem. Well, Hugh and I have known each other for a really long time. We've worked on a bunch of projects together, and this was something that came about in a goofy way. We were sitting around, we wanted to write a movie about teenagers with superpowers, and I think it all started because Hugh had bought some bananas that weren't ripe. And we were drinking and playing ping pong, and he was like, I wish I had the mutant ability to ripen bananas. And I said, that has got to be one of the more useless powers that I could possibly, what practical use would that serve? And he said, I could ripen bananas. So we started talking about what would be useless and interesting powers and kind of how people would deal with that if that was the power that they had. And it got us off on this whole thing about these kids and, you know, what it's like being a teenager and what it's like going to college for the first time and how that becomes a secondary family. It's you know, we wanted to tell a story about the friends that you choose versus the family that you're given. And this just seems such a good format for forcing people together, and especially when you have something that distinguishes you so separately, like an actual physical affliction, finding other like afflicted people gives you a sense of comfort, you know, a sense like you have a place in the world. That's really the origin of this, how it came about. Oh, and with Top Cow, we had talked about making it as a movie, and it was right at the time when X-Men was coming out. And everyone within the industry said to us that you're so much better off to make a comic book movie if you have a comic book. And we were like, oh, we'd love to do that. We just thought that was a little bit backwards. But we approached Top Cow about it. Actually, I'm trying to remember how that happened. I think a friend of ours knew somebody there, and we'd had interaction with them before, and they're such a good, you know, creator-friendly comic company. We wanted to go to a place that would let us tell the story that we wanted and support it with ads and, you know, great artists and a strong publication. Top Cow was that company. It's very difficult to launch a new series and have it take off. So comparatively, we've done very, very well. But compared to, you know, the books that top the charts, Freshman's a small book. And it's expensive to produce, it really is. But we'll see how things go. Hugh and I are looking at still adapting it into a feature. So that's been where I've been directing my attention. We've got these two strong books here that I feel are great templates for feature films. They are, as they're written, designed to be movies. So that's what I've been pursuing.